All right, hello everyone. Thanks a lot for joining for today's live stream. We're live streaming from Fukushima University. Let me just introduce myself first. I'm Joost Krolt. I'm an assistant professor here at Fukushima University, starting last April. And my work here at Fukushima University, one of the greatest things has been to be in contact with these guys right here. Hello. These are some of the students, and today we are using this channel, Our Fukushima, which was started a few years ago. And a bunch of social media accounts started by the international students here at Fukushima University to show the world what Fukushima is like, both the positive and the negative side, all from the perspective of the students. We have a Facebook, we have an Instagram, a TikTok, and a YouTube account. And this time we wanted to try something completely different. We wanted to do a live stream session to introduce Fukushima. And what we're going to do is we'll have a few presentations from these guys here. An introduction to Fukushima, a timeline of the events that happened since 2011. Did a little survey of opinions about Fukushima, both from people outside of Japan and from students from this university. We'll talk about some current challenges for Fukushima and how they're approached. And yeah, please be aware that information about Fukushima can sometimes be a bit contentious, and there's a lot of opinions and views. But we'll do our best to give a really faithful and proper representation of the current situation. So in between the presentations, we'll have some short breaks with some amazing footage from one of our students, actually. Do check out our channel. Their handle is going to be on the screen. And finally, we'll also have an interview with a very, very special guest, without whom our Fukushima wouldn't have existed. So those of you who have been involved in the channel, I'm pretty sure you already know who I'm talking about. And then finally, there's some time for a Q&A. You can ask questions in the chat, and we'll pick out the questions that we can answer. We may not be able to answer the most difficult, the most technical questions, because it requires a lot of research on the spot that we just don't have time for. And there might be some sensitive issues as well, so the students are going to do their best to answer the questions to the best of their abilities, and their abilities are pretty great. So also, this is our first time doing a live stream, so there might be some technical issues for which we apologize in advance. So with that said, let me just pass on the baton to the students and move on to the first presentation.
Okay, hello everyone.
Hello. Yeah.
So we want to start with a quick overview of Fukushima Prefecture. So first, let me the PowerPoint, I guess, like this. And yeah, so a quick overview of the Fukushima Prefecture. And Fukushima Prefecture is not working. Okay, now I still cannot skip, but okay. So yeah, okay. Again, a quick overview of the Fukushima Prefecture. Fukushima Prefecture is in the northern part of Japan and is about 2 hours by Shinkansen and 3.5 hours by car from Tokyo. To the north, we have the Miyagi Prefecture, which is famous for a very important historical character named Date Masamune. To the west of Fukushima, we have the Niigata Prefecture, which is very famous for its rice and sake. To the south, we have the Tochigi Prefecture, which is famous for Iko. Yeah, so Fukushima Prefecture has a population of 1.8 million people, and it is about 13,783 square kilometers big. And the temperature and humidity are a little higher than in other areas.
And one of the major features of Fukushima Prefecture is that its area is quite large in Japan. It has the third largest area in Japan after Hokkaido and Iwate. Therefore, the prefecture is divided into 3 regions, and 3 regions has different climate and culture.
Okay, I'm gonna start with the first area of Fukushima, which is called Nakadori. It is an area between the two other areas in Fukushima Prefecture. The area is served by a major roads and bullet train lines and is the gateway to Fukushima. In addition, Fukushima also has the Nakadori region has the cities Fukushima and Koriyama, which are very important for administrative and businesses. And in addition, there are also many traditional festivals that have been handed down since ancient times, such as the Waraji Festival and the Cucumber Tenno Festival. There are also many hot springs towns such as Isaka Onsen and Tsuchiyu Onsen.
Okay, next is the Aizu region. The Aizu area refers to the area on the west side of Fukushima Prefecture. This area is home to many of Fukushima's most popular tourist attractions. First, it is a place about history. Aizu has a deep-rooted samurai culture of the past. And even now, the Aizu clan and the Shinsengumi and White Tiger Corps, which had a strong relationship with the Aizu domain, are used in many dramas and movies. And of course, there are many places where you can feel the samurai culture of Japan. And another tourist attraction is nature. Fukushima Prefecture has a Lake Inawashiro, the fourth largest lake in Japan, and together with the surrounding mountains, you can enjoy rafting and mountain climbing in summer, and skiing and snowboarding in the winter, because it is a heavy snowfall area and many nature activities.
And the last area of Fukushima Prefecture is Hamadori. It is the area that is east of Fukushima Prefecture, and this place is famous for its seafood. And in Iwaki City, we have a tourist facility such as Hawaiians. The Hamadori region also has the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant and a lot of museums that are scattered throughout the area that summarize the accident or the disaster in general. And you can learn a lot about the Great East Japan earthquake there, also about nuclear power and the disaster prevention.
Fukushima is a wonderful place full of wonderful nature, food, history, and culture. We hope that the charm of such a wonderful place will be conveyed to a lot. Okay, this concludes our introduction to the overview of Fukushima. Let's learn about Fukushima together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back after the short break. Now we want to give a quick historical overview about the disaster.
and everything before and after in Fukushima. When talking about Fukushima, we cannot avoid the tragic accident that happened on March 11, 2011. We don't want to put too much emphasis on this topic because our main goal on the stream is to shift Fukushima's image away from the tragic events and make Fukushima a place again. In the following, we still want to show you a little timeline on the events of the Great East Japan earthquake. In this presentation, we want to put emphasis on the problems that occurred after the disaster and what possible solutions people from Fukushima came up with.
Yes, starting with the pre-disaster in the 1950s, the location where the nuclear power plant is located now was used by the Imperial Army during the Second World War to train kamikaze fighters. After the war, the location was converted into salt pans, but were eventually closed down. And people living in Fukushima at this time were either working in the agricultural sector or commuted to Tokyo for work, while the family stayed in Fukushima. And this was especially hard on the families because the men were away most of the times. And after that, slowly the energy demand shifted from charcoal to coal, then from coal to oil, and after the oil crisis in 1973 to 74, to finally nuclear power. And Japan's, and especially Tokyo's need for energy was getting bigger and bigger, caused by the economic boom.
The construction of the nuclear power plant started in 1967. Developed by the US-American company General Electric, the nuclear power plant was built on a solid bedrock to accommodate the earthquakes. Commissioning began in 1971, and most of the generated electricity was distributed to Tokyo. The construction of the power plant also created many employment opportunities. Thus, people living in Fukushima did not need to commute far away in order to work.
But everything changed after the Great East Japan earthquake. It occurred on March 11, 2011, off the coast with a magnitude of 9.0, followed by the tsunami reaching 10 meters high. After detecting the earthquake, units 1 to 3 shut down automatically. However, the tsunami set the cooling facilities underwater and damaged the machinery beyond repair. The reactors couldn't be cooled down anymore, and the remaining cooling water in the reactors turned into steam, which caused the hydrogen accumulated at the ceiling of the reactors and caused a hydrogen air explosion.
After the disaster, the priority was to stabilize the reactors and clean up the debris. It was also important to keep the contaminated water from leaking into the ocean. The contaminated water was and is still stored in 10-meter tall tanks. By the way, TEPCO started releasing the water into the ocean in August 2023 last year, after it's been thoroughly treated and diluted to meet international standards for safety.
The disaster caused 160,000 evacuees. Evacuation lifting started in 2014, and by now all the towns have their state of evacuation lifted, and a large part of the area is safe to return to for residents. However, some areas remain closed as they are difficult to decontaminate, such as forested and mountain areas. And misinformation and prejudice about the current situation are the challenges of today. People of Fukushima must face those every day. The focus is shifting from clean up to decommissioning, rebuilding communities and making them self-sustaining. Estimated time for finishing the decommissioning is set to 40 years after following the accident.
So now we're gonna move on into a little map explanation of this accident and the whole, like, where was the nuclear power plant, where was everything. So here we have, in this part of the presentation, we want to show you where the March 11, 2011 earthquake happened, causing a tsunami and the accident at the Daiichi nuclear power plant. And yeah, first of all, here's a map of Japan. Beautiful, isn't it?
Yes, but where is Fukushima in this map? Fukushima is located north to Tokyo, and as you can see, it is a pretty big prefecture. As a matter of fact, Fukushima is the third largest prefecture in Japan.
And where did the nuclear power plant accident happen, actually? It happened all here in the red marked region, which is Futaba.
Located on the border of Futaba and Okuma, the Daiichi nuclear power plant was hit by the earthquake and tsunami there.
Yes, and here you can see how small the town is compared to the. Let me go back here. Yes, to the how small the town is where the accident occurred and most of the damage was caused compared to the rest of the whole prefecture. And this is important when we talk about the nuclear accident in Fukushima. People often assume whole Fukushima, the whole prefecture, was affected by this disaster. But if we look closely, it is only a small part of the whole region.
And in a more general comparison, this is Futaba compared to the rest of Japan. And most of Japan was not affected directly by the accident. This is important to know if you read news or articles about Fukushima, to be able to look through misconceptions and make up your own mind even when deciding where to visit in your next trip to Japan.
Yes, thank you very much. And now we will go into the next section after a short break. Thank you. So, welcome back, guys, to the section 3 of our live stream, where we dive into the voices of the people and their images and beliefs about Fukushima. In this section, we'll explore the perception of Fukushima from both local students and people internationally. We'll highlight initial impressions, common misconceptions, and the changes in perception over time.
Let's start with the responses from Japanese students at Fukushima University.
Yes. Many students had little to no specific knowledge about Fukushima before attending the Fukushima University and before coming here. Initial impressions were often natural or slightly negative, influenced by media reports about the 2011 disaster.
One student said, "The first time I came to Fukushima Prefecture was to study earthquake disasters, the study part of a school trip. So I had an image of what an earthquake would be like. It wasn't the radioactivity that made the biggest impression on me, but the tsunami. This highlights the initial focus on the disaster rather than the ongoing situation."
However, first-hand experiences led to a more positive view, as can be seen here. Students highlighted the friendliness of locals, the beauty of the region, and the safety measurements in place.
One student mentioned, "Since coming to Fukushima Prefecture, that image hasn't changed much, but I've learned that many people are holding events as part of recovery efforts."
Another student stated that they thought people in Fukushima might be sensitive about radiation, but even after coming here for a while, they realized that it wasn't like that at all.
Concerns from family and friends about radiation before moving to Fukushima were uncommon or not present.
Furthermore, few to none encountered any misconceptions about the safety of the region and its food.
One student emphasized that it is important to have accurate information and listen to the voices of the people.
Yes, in order to tackle those misconceptions. Yes, and the stigma from the 2011 disaster still affects perceptions impacting tourism and local businesses. One student had the opinion that there should be a different focus while dealing with this problem.
They say that even if safety is guaranteed, it does not necessarily provide peace of mind. So I think it will be difficult to eliminate reputational damage completely. However, the percentage of people who say bad things about Fukushima Prefecture is maybe around 15% or less in Japan. So it may be important to focus on the remaining majority. The situation of reputational damage overseas is likely to be different from that in Japan, so it is difficult to generalize.
Another student even stated that they think food from Fukushima is safer than from other places because of the strict requirements to ensure no contamination.
Despite these challenges, students expressed the desire to collect misconceptions and share their positive experiences, highlighting the recovery efforts and safety measures in place.
Now let's look at the responses from our overseas questionnaire, mostly people from you guys.
The vast majority of our respondents were between 18 and 24 years old.
And they are also somewhat familiar with Fukushima.
Initial impressions were strongly associated with the 2011 nuclear disaster, radiation concerns, and the earthquake and tsunami.
Asking them specifically about their perception, one on radiation safety Fukushima today, around 44% answered somewhat safe, 28% very safe, and only around 12% were of the opinion that it's still somewhat unsafe here.
Regarding the recovery after the disaster, more than half responded that Fukushima had partially recovered.
Nevertheless, after being asked if the information they received is up to date, around half of them were either not sure or thought they have received accurate information so far.
All being said, an astonishing 72% of the respondents felt that there still are significant prejudices against Fukushima which are especially related to radiation.
Common misconceptions included uninhabitable areas, high radiation levels, unsafe food or water.
Mixed information from various sources causes misinformation like this to spread like a fire, which then leads to hesitation or avoidance of visiting Fukushima. But not only that, weak tourism due to a lack of appealing or interesting elements compared to other prefectures was also noted.
Yes, one respondent mentioned that he would consider traveling to Japan in the future, but Fukushima wouldn't be on the top of his list because, in his opinion, there are other prefectures and cities that seem more appealing and interesting.
However, there are calls for better promotion of Fukushima's safety and recovery. Respondents encouraged more positive media coverage and educational campaigns to correct false beliefs. There was also appreciation for their resilience and efforts of Fukushima residents.
Interestingly, one person had a similar opinion as one of the Japanese students, where he believes that due to Fukushima's strict regulations, one could argue that it is safer here than other areas around the world regarding radiation.
In conclusion, both local and international respondents show the journey from misconception to informed understanding.
The consensus of both Japanese and foreign side is that there needs to be something done in order to shift the image of Fukushima away from being a nuclear wasteland to the real gem of northern Japan it is.
By sharing these voices, we aim to highlight the positive changes and ongoing efforts in Fukushima, addressing misconceptions head-on and promoting a more accurate image of the region. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, and just a small reminder, if you have any questions about what we talked about so far, or if you have any other things you want to know, not only about Fukushima, but maybe also about Japan, you can ask everything into the chat. We will try to tackle those questions and come up with answers, but don't be shy. And yeah, we will see you after a short break into our next and last section of this stream. And yeah, thank you so far.
Okay, hello everyone. Once again, we're back. And for the last section of this presentation, we want to talk about the current challenges that Fukushima is facing, but also introduce some ongoing projects and initiatives helping to secure a way for the future for a strong Fukushima. So first thing that we're going to talk about is the problem that occurred after the 2011 disaster, which is the radioactive soil, where the wind blew radioactive particles in the air that escaped from the power plant into the direction of Fukushima Prefecture, resulting in cesium and tritium to leak into the earth and resulting contamination. The affected soil got excavated and separated in specific facilities, after which they were put in bags and stored in either temporary storages or, for example, in someone's backyard. The affected amount of the soil is massive, 14 million cubic meters in space and weighing about 24 kilotons in total. Of course, before being stored forever, the soil must be separated from the things like rocks and wood. For that purpose, it gets filtered multiple times and drained from excess water so it cannot leak into the ground while it's stored. And after the procedure, the soil gets moved into storage, of which many today have already been restored to their original nature. Bags will stay until a decision has been made where to put them forever. For example, one of the solutions are called interim storage facility. They are located around the Fukushima Daiichi power plant itself. It's a huge area used to store a massive amount of the soil and other contaminated materials. Most of the combustible material has been previously incinerated. Yes. And the resulting ash with high amounts of radiation is also being stored in the facility.
Interesting is the second big challenge. We have the decommissioning of the power plant itself, which began almost directly after the disaster in 2011, but has been moving along rather slowly because of the unexpected difficulty of the procedure and the high radiation levels inside the reactor buildings. Naturally, before even accessing the reactors itself, the area around them, like the surrounding area, must be secured and tidied up to ensure the safety of the workers and the machines aiming to enter the buildings. Moving to the actual process of nuclear waste removal, and the reason why the progress is so slow, there is the issue with the melted fuel that has fused with surrounding materials, resulting in even more sophisticated and specialized technology becoming necessary, which is currently in development. And as for the removal process itself, due to really high radiation levels in the reactor chambers and surrounding areas, only robots can safely enter the location and remove very small amounts of nuclear waste at time, creating a really slow process projected to take at least until around 2050 to completely remove all the material and the decommissioning work at the power plant. And finally, since the reactors still must be cooled down and it rains into the reactor buildings from time to time, a large amount of water is being contaminated at the plant on a day-to-day basis, making the need for a way to treat, store and release all this water. And thankfully, the Advanced Liquid Purification System, or ALPS, has a way to remove almost all the dangerous particles from the water, which it does in multiple stages, filtering out elements like cesium and others. And this treated water is then stored in huge water tanks located around the power plant area, where it waits to be diluted and released back to the ocean. And this water is entirely harmless and fully tested before being approved for release, so you don't have to worry about any radioactive fish.
And for the very last part now, and to change a little bit the perspective towards some more hopeful topics, we are going to present some of the opportunities the prefecture might have up its sleeve, namely the Fukushima Innovation Coast Framework and the Our Fukushima project and the Fukushima Investors Program, which we are going to introduce later more deeply. And keep in mind that these are only a small part of all the many local initiatives, projects, and programs running right now in Fukushima. So first, the Fukushima Innovation Coast Framework is an impressive collection of research centers, testing sites, high-tech plaza, and businesses. They operate on the coast of Fukushima, aiming to find new, efficient ways to generate renewable energy using the lay of the land to their advantage. They are also diligently researching the necessary technology needed for the decommissioning effort we talked about earlier, focusing on robotics and drone tech. It's also a great pull factor for all kinds of businesses who are looking to settle in the area and part of one of the most modern complexes in Japan.
And as for our Fukushima project, which is this live stream is part of, international students from different parts of the world trying to restore Fukushima's image and reputation through ever-changing projects is what this program aims to do. As you can see, there are a lot of things in place that is for to improve the region's situation and build a future worth living in Fukushima, so keep informed and don't fall for any misinformation you might see about the region being an unlivable place.
So yes, this was the fourth section of this presentation. First of all, we want to give a quick shout out to Mareike. She provided us with the very beautiful pictures and videos that you saw during the breaks. She's very talented. Give her a, I don't know, follow on Instagram. Thank you, Mareike, from everyone here. And now we want to show you an interview from a person that is very important to us, and it's just, I don't, and he was gonna talk about the ambassador program, right? So please stay and watch it until the end. It's really, really nice. And yeah, I guess that's it for now, I guess.
Well, hello everyone. My name is William McMichael. I am from Vancouver, Canada, but I had the pleasure of living in Fukushima from 2007 all the way up until just 2 months ago, actually 3 months ago, until April of 2024. I first came to Fukushima as part of a program called the JET program, where people from all over the world get to come to Japan and either teach English or help whatever municipality they're living in, with their international work, internationalization work. I got to do the latter job and I loved Fukushima. I actually only planned to be here for about 1 year. When I first came in 2007, that's what I told my wife, and we're like, yeah, we'll just go back. But we loved it so much. After my 3 years as a jet, I decided to stay and I got a job at Fukushima University. And I had the absolute pleasure of working there for just about 14 years. I love Fukushima so much. I was actually appointed the tourism ambassador of Fukushima in 2018. And I was also, even prior to that, in 2012, the Ministry of External Affairs, Foreign Affairs in Japan, coined me Canada's biggest fan of Fukushima. I was very proud of that. And then also, to top it all off, in 2021, I had the honor of being one of the Olympic torchbearers during the torch relay representing Fukushima. So those three things just tell you testament to how much I love Fukushima. Well, the Fukushima Ambassadors Program is a short-term study abroad program where Fukushima University invites students from all over the world to come to Fukushima, usually for about 2 weeks, to come, and learn about its past, its present, and its future issues. So the program usually starts off by learning about what is radiation, what happened during the nuclear accidents, and then it moves on to the present issues about, decommissioning, about the NIMBY effect, about what to do with the contaminated soil, etc. And then we try to end it off by going into the future, where we try to think about, what does Fukushima, what issues will it face in 20 years, and what can we do to, possibly, be part of its revitalization. Or sometimes we try to focus on what the issues in Fukushima and how they relate to the issues back home as well. So once, even after the students come back, they'll always remain connected to Fukushima, right? And its issues and its people. That was sort of the whole idea behind the program. And what makes it really unique is it's a really intensive program, right? We go all over the prefecture, right? Just meeting people, but it's very, 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 very rich in meeting people, hearing actual stories. You don't really sit in, in a classroom and listen to boring lectures. It's mostly just out doing field work, basically. And there's also a lot of service learning. Service learning is when you like volunteer in a neighborhood, or you try to do something to contribute to a project that's going on. There's a lot of service learning that goes on, but there's also a lot of peer teaching, students teaching each other within the group, and just people getting to really, 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 really fall in love with the prefecture. It's designed by people who love Fukushima like I do, right? So we've really made it sure that in the 2 weeks, people go back with an amazing, amazing impression. Some students have even mentioned that who participated in the program that in a really strange way, Fukushima feels more like home than their actual home. It was just such a welcoming place. They say, and true to the word, a lot of them have remained really connected to Fukushima. It's been a fantastic medium for people to come and learn about Fukushima, become educated about the real issues, and remain connected to Fukushima even after the program. For the program, actually started even, I would say, as early as April 2011, about 1 month after the March 11 disasters, when things started to settle down a little bit and we started getting a clear idea of what the real issues are going to be in Fukushima. Me being someone from Canada, I was getting a lot of, requests from media to appear and talk about Fukushima. I was also being invited to go around the world to do little talks at conferences and, conventions to talk about Fukushima. And it just really, really made me upset, I guess, in a way that the situation in Fukushima was being completely misunderstood by people all over the world. I'd go to conventions and people would look at me with pity, like, oh my God, poor you radiated guy, right? And people really had no idea that the Fukushima I knew, there were people, yeah, yes, there were challenges, but everybody in Fukushima was really, really positive. They were determined to, reopen all the areas that were evacuated. It was obviously something that sort of divided the community at first, but then what came after was the whole community, everybody coming together, and we all knew we were in it together, and that it didn't matter if we're from overseas or from, or from Fukushima or from other parts of Japan. This is going to be Team Fukushima. We were all pro Fukushima. We were in it together, and there were a lot of incredible, incredible things happening in the prefecture, full of hope. But all the questions I'd be getting was like, oh, how bad is it? Like, are you okay? Is there Godzilla? Like, is the government, brainwashing you? Why are you still there? You have kids there? Oh my God, right? And it just made me really angry. And I wanted to make Fukushima more accessible, but also create a chance for people to come and see Fukushima as we were seeing it, right? So we started approaching our partner universities saying, hey, want to do something, right? Let's do something. But one big problem back in 2011 was that all of the countries around the world had travel bans saying people could not go to Fukushima. People shouldn't travel within an 80-kilometer radius of the nuclear power plant. So we couldn't really do a program because it would have been going against those rules that the governments were putting in place. I spent that year, just planning it and trying to get money for it, waiting for that moment when the travel bans were lifted. And fortunately, by that winter time, the travel bans were lifted. So we're like, let's do it. And then we just waited for the next opportunity, which was a summer vacation. So in 2012, in late May, we decided to do the program for the first time with one of our partners in the US. We had 10 slots, right, for the program to come from US to Japan. Because we didn't really have a lot of funding at the time. But to those 10 slots, over 120 people applied, right? They were so interested. They really wanted to come. However, right before the program was about to start and right before these students were set to go to Japan, something happened. And it was actually quite expected, I guess. But what happened was the rest of the country in the US found out about this program, and everybody went online and started completely trashing the university for sending students to Fukushima, because they're like, oh my God, how dare they send them, to Fukushima to like clean up the nuclear power plant? These guys must be crazy. They must have mercury in the water or whatever. It kind of went viral, which is even a thing back in 2012, and all over online people were writing horrible things about this program and about these students. And it got to the point where the university started getting death threats. The president received literally received letters saying, hey, you shouldn't send these students to Fukushima on this program. This is a terrible idea. You don't know what you're doing. You're basically killing these kids, right? So it was a bit shocking, but also expected, I guess, in a way. And I thought, oh my God, okay, there goes my dream. Ambassador's program not going to happen. But to my surprise, a pleasant surprise, these students said, no, we don't care. We still want to go. And the university said, we want to do it. And they sent their students, and it was the most amazing 2 weeks of all of our lives, I think. It was such an emotional experience. The students were staying inside temporary housing districts for doing homestays. We did a lot of volunteer work, and they left, and there was a huge success. It really made me realize that this was what we had to do. Like, there was so much misconception about Fukushima. Maybe it was only 10 students, but we made a huge difference. These students went back completely transformed, right? And absolutely in love, just even more in love with Fukushima than me almost, right? So I realized, it may be like akin to, trying to fill up a pool of water using spoons, but this is what we had to do. We had to chip away at it. We had to create as many ambassadors as we can and keep doing that. So that was the real motivation to keep it going, which is a lot easier said than done, because we had to find the funding and all that. But we got a lot of good sponsors. Then the Japanese government started going behind it as well. And we were very lucky to run the program a total of 15 times during the time I was there. And we invited over 200 students from 16 universities coming from 8 countries. So it started off with one school, but it got bigger and bigger and bigger. More and more schools started coming. And it sort of became my life work, I guess. The program originally started off as a way for people to come and, I guess, lose their misconceptions about Fukushima. So they might hear some things in media. We were there to sort of dispel, or at least maybe give them some positive disconfirmation in a way, right? Just to tell them that, no, it's actually, yeah, there is a challenge like that, but it's actually not as serious as maybe the media has portrayed it to be. They were actually figuring out, like, for example, decommissioning was a big one. For a long time, people thought it was hopeless, but there was actually a pretty strong, ray of light, even from the beginning. We knew there was a way to get this done, and that's why Fukushima was absolutely determined to get the decommissioning done, right? And stuff like that. And that's how it started for the first couple of years. But gradually, as we started, really, really working on the curriculum and making more connections. And also as gradually as Fukushima started to, I guess, be reopened, the theme of the program sort of went to away from learning about Fukushima and more towards learning from Fukushima. So learning the hard lessons about the issues with evacuation, or even the initial, information dissemination, screw ups in that, or hearing about the amazing work they're doing in communities in places like Odaka, for example, and how that's just so inspiring, right? And so I think it was about 2016, we really started shifting towards learning from Fukushima. And that's sort of been the big theme from there all the way up until I think this year's program. Well, my initial connection is a little bit of a boring one, actually, to be honest with you. It wasn't by choice, right? I actually didn't even know where Fukushima was until I came here in 2007. Like I said earlier, I came to Japan in 2007 as part of a program called the JET program. And in that program, you don't really get to decide where you go. You get placed where they want you to go, or where they feel you'll be the best fit, right? So I came in August of 2007, but I got my placement around June. So I opened up my letter telling me where I'm going to go, and it said Fukushima, and it was blank. Like I had no clue. I thought, oh, is it near maybe the Japan Sea? Well, that's actually Fukui, or it's Kyushu. No, it's Fukuoka. Like where the heck is Fukushima, right? Which is really weird because it's the third largest prefecture in Japan, and once you know where it is, you really can't miss it on the map because it's a pretty darn big spot, right? So, but I didn't know anything about Fukushima other than that it was in the countryside maybe, but yeah, I was like, oh yeah, great, I'll do it, I'll go anywhere, right? And I came to Fukushima within the first week, I would say 2 weeks. I knew I was the luckiest person to be placed here because it was just absolutely everything I wanted in Japan. Beautiful nature, amazing history, very, very nice people, and very, very interesting people. I still remember my first week in Fukushima, and I was asked to participate in a seminar in an area in Aizu. And the people picked me up, and on the way there, they were telling me all the things that I cannot do in Aizu. And one of them is talk about Yamaguchi Prefecture, because Yamaguchi Prefecture, for those who know, they have a very bad relation with Aizu because during the Civil War, they basically went and put it under siege for a month. So he's like, Billy-san, Makumake-san, if you want to survive in Aizu, do not mention the name Yamaguchi. Do not say you know anyone from Yamaguchi. Do not say you like Fugu because Fugu's like from Yamaguchi. If you want to get along, this is a big, big no-no. I'm like, oh my God, dude, it's been 100 years, so I get over it. But he was half joking, but no, I would say he was about 20% joking, 80% serious, right? So, but just that unique culture that I never knew Fukushima, that unique side, because these people are really nice, except when it comes to Yamaguchi, right? But just all that stuff really, really grew on me, right? I loved it. And during my role as JET, I got so many chances to go around Fukushima. I actually went to every single municipality to do talks about intercultural relationships, how to accept foreigners like me into their communities. And everywhere I went, people were so nice and I loved it so much. So that's why when the March 11th disasters happened, it was really hit me hard because I knew all those communities that were being washed away in the tsunamis. I could see my favorite restaurants, my elementary schools that I was teaching at, getting completely engulfed by waves. And I just remember just thinking about all the people there and realizing that that very moment when I was watching all this happen and when I heard about the nuclear accidents happening, I really remember telling myself, this is going to be my chance to give back to all these people for all the end they gave me, for all the good things they did for me in my lives, for the wonderful 3 years that they given me, and just being so friendly to me. This was going to be my chance to give back. Finally, I was going to do everything I can in my power to use my Japanese, my English, and my current, at the time, role at the university to do something to help this prefecture get its feet back and to become the beautiful Fukushima that I know it was again. It was really all thanks to those 3 years of JET that made me feel that way. And that's what really motivated me for the 14 years I was at Fukushima University as well. I started with administration and then I gradually moved on to a faculty position. And just meeting so many people and being inspired by them constantly has made so many ends between me and Fukushima that it's never going to leave me. I don't think I'll ever not be part of Fukushima. Love it. I really, really, really love it because, and I'm really happy too. And I'm very impressed because actually that's what you just said about that word, that phrase you just said, place, making Fukushima a place again. Sorry, I misspoke there. Making Fukushima a place again was something that I had always been saying since 2011, actually, too. The way I said it was putting a face to Fukushima, right? But same thing, right? Because unfortunately, the name Fukushima has sort of taken a life of its own, and people say Fukushima, and all they think about is the nuclear accidents, or in a way, the word Fukushima just automatically means all the terrible things about the nuclear industry and the world ending and yada yada yada, right? When in reality, Fukushima is obviously much more than the Great East Japan earthquake. There's an incredible history before it. There's an incredible history after it. After the accidents, there's amazing people. There's amazing culture. There's amazing food. So much more to Fukushima, and a lot of people around the world don't realize it's an actual place where people live, and there's amazing things going on. And that was really why I did the Fukushima Ambassadors program too, to create as many bridges between Fukushima and create as many ambassadors who know that Fukushima is definitely just not all about, the nuclear accidents. And, students who come on the ambassadors program, a lot of them would always, when they first come, they would tell me as a motivation for coming on the program, their biggest motivation was to go to the nuclear power plants because that's been part of the program too, right? And that's understandable. But by the time they leave, when I ask them again, so what left the biggest impression? Almost about half or maybe 60% of them have even forgotten about going to the nuclear power plants because everything else was left such a strong impression, right? The people, the food, the amazing karaoke nights, everything, right? So, and I think that that's really what we need to do. And Fukushima has so much potential. There's so many amazing things about it. And we really need to, I guess we really want to invite more, we really need to invite more people to come here and find out because they're really missing out. If all they think about Fukushima is the nuclear accidents, they're really missing out because they're missing so much of the story and they're missing so many great things about Japan and so much history. And that was also the motivation for me starting another project called Hope Tourism, right? Where the idea is people come and they learn about the hope, they create bonds with the communities and they go home, right? So I love it. I love it. It's a great idea. I'm so proud of you guys for coming up with that. And I know you guys will be able to do it. And I'm looking forward to helping you out in the years to come as well, in this whole, I guess, goal to make Fukushima a place again. Well, I guess a word of motivation, or I guess one thing I wanted to tell everybody who's watching, today, who's listening to the stream, as sort of, I guess, not motivation, but there's one phrase that I want to share with everybody watching, this stream today. And it was a phrase that was used in a commercial for a music event, a music festival that happened in Fukushima in 2011, where they're trying to get everybody to come back again, the community to be one again. And in that phrase, in that commercial, as a final phrase, they use the phrase "Nothing beats Fukushima, does it?" Right? And I just love that phrase because that's rings so true to me. Fukushima is such a resilient place that I truly believe that nothing is going to be able to beat it. I know there's still challenges, obviously, with the treated water, decommissioning, with the soil waste, and these issues are going to continue. They're not going to end right away. They're not going to go away. It's going to be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. But I'm a firm believer that Fukushima will not lose this battle, that it's not going to be beaten, and that it's going to rise again, and it's always going to rise to the challenge and be able to overcome them. And also, I love this phrase because nothing beats Fukushima. It's an incredible place, really, really. It's pretty close to Tokyo, lots of nature, very, very diverse area with 3 different regions, completely different cultures, language, food, amazing people, amazing sake, if that's your thing. But also, it's a life-changing experience to also learn about Fukushima by going to the coast and realizing that, oh, it's actually not the way I thought it would be, right? So you really can't do that anywhere else, and it really can't be beaten. So nothing beats Fukushima, guys. I really hope you guys think about Fukushima, try to do some research, and if you can, next time you're in Japan visiting, if you could maybe visit Fukushima, it would mean the world to us.
Hello, guys, and welcome back. Thank you, William, for the heartwarming, moving speech. Now, sadly, we came to the last step of our presentation of our live stream, the Q&A section. Thank you so much for all the questions. We received all of them, and now I'm gonna be like a little moderator here and give the questions into the round. And I hope we will answer all of your questions thoroughly. And of course, if you want to know more, just shoot them right at us into the chat. We're always watching. Yeah, let's start, I guess. First, maybe let's take the question: where are you guys from, and girls? Where are we from? Where are we from? So, well, let's start with me. My name is Emre Karakas. I'm from Germany. I'm from the Ruhr University in Bochum, and here in my exchange year. Yes, that's from me. Where are you from, Angelina?
I'm from. Hi everyone. I'm Angelina. I'm from Germany too, and I'm from the Ludwigshafen University, and I'm also here on an exchange year, and I'm almost done. I'm gonna leave Japan in August 15th, and I'm already really sad about it, but I will definitely come back. So, yeah, don't.
Kitty, where are you from?
Yes, hi, my name is Kitty and I'm from Hungary. I'm from Károly Gáspár, the Reformed Church of Hungary. Yeah, that's all.
So, my name is Chihiro Kitahara, and I'm from Fukushima in Japan. And I major in agriculture in this university, in Fukushima University.
Yes, thank you very much. So yeah, we have a little international group here. So another question would be, now let's go more into serious questions about Fukushima. The question we received was, what can be done to move tourism to Fukushima region next to visiting the big cities? This is probably referring to the section where we said that many people tend to not visit Fukushima because their bucket list is like Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, and so on. So, do you have any opinions about that?
It's it's like, for example, taking the fact that the southern part of Japan, like for example Kyoto and Osaka, has the problem of over tourism. We could promote like this part of Japan, like Fukushima and the northern regions, being like less crowded by tourists. For one.
Yes, that's a good point. Fukushima doesn't see that much tourists as Kyoto or Tokyo. Something else we heard from Mr. William earlier is hope tourism, right? Giving some hope tourism, showing the good sides of Japan, of Fukushima especially, even regarding to the March 11 disaster 2011. But one good thing about Fukushima we all know is Fukushima's everything, right? We have ocean, we have mountains, we have forests, plains, river, lake. So we can go skiing here. We can lie on the beach in the sun. So that's also a reason why so many people in Fukushima don't go outside of Fukushima, because you have everything here. Yeah, this would be two things which could be promoted. Moving on, we don't want to give too much time to one question because we have so many more. For example, how would you change the perception of Fukushima being deemed unsafe? What would you guys do about this?
I don't know, this is really a hard question because for me, most of the time, for example, my opinion or what I was thinking about Fukushima before I came here was basically nothing, I guess. It's like any other prefecture in Japan, and it's just that most the horror stories that I heard were like from people personally, where they told me like, oh my god, Fukushima is unsafe and radiation and the food there, you can eat it and stuff like that. So I guess it's you should talk to people personally about your experiences about Fukushima, especially for us because we lived here for a year almost, and we can tell these people about our personal experiences and basically be ambassadors for Fukushima, because it's, you know, you can give people as many facts as you can. You can talk about, you know, researchers and statistics and facts in general, but it's really hard to change people's mind. They have to, you know, do it by themselves, or it has to come from themselves. And usually what for me worked is like, as I said, personal experience, I would say. Yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and of course also with the project we are doing right now here. With this project, we can tackle those misconceptions and we can promote Fukushima internationally. I think this is the most important thing when talking about image problems. You need to present the thing which are the image problem in in a way that people are tend to change their own opinion. Like we are doing here, Fukushima positive. We're doing a positive representation about Fukushima. We're showing that Fukushima is so much more but the accident. And I think this is really important to build bridges between nations and Fukushima in this case, and well, give people a source to go to when they want to know more about real Fukushima, because as it is of now, there, especially in the western part of the internet, I would say, still a lot of disaster contaminated information about Fukushima. Yeah. Moving on to the next question, which is a bit more personal, individual, is like, did you have any idea of the region before you went here, and did it change during our stay here to study? So we heard earlier from Adelina what her view before was, and what are your views?
Yes, for me it was kind of the same as with Angelina, that I didn't have that much information about Fukushima before coming here. But, like, of course, the misconceptions about it and the radiation level. And, like, back in Hungary, everyone who I talked to about this scholarship that I'm going to spend 1 year in Fukushima, everyone was, like, not scared, but a little bit, like, asking me that, is it safe? Is it alright to go to Fukushima? so no one really knows anything about Fukushima in Hungary. And the way it changed, I could meet the best people in Fukushima. I saw the best places in Fukushima. I ate the best food in Fukushima. I learned that Fukushima is 100% safe, so no one.
The IT curse of Fukushima University. But yeah, I hope we rebounded fast. I hope you can hear us. Maybe I will wait for a confirmation about this. I don't know when this stuff. No.
During your speech, because
Okay, we're back. Yes, I don't know what did you guys miss or when did the connection got lost, but just a little recap of the last 1 minute we had. Kitty talked about her reasons coming here, about the beautiful places, food, people, and she will defend Fukushima and advocate for Fukushima until the end of her life. Yes. So I hope we can continue without any further problems. Yes. One or two more questions. We have questions. We have so many questions here. This, for example, what could we pick? Yeah, here. What are your favorite to-go-to spots in Fukushima, and what would be a point like tourists should watch out for when coming to Fukushima? So
this is Kitty's specialty.
Seafood specialty. Yeah. I think it's my favorite spot up until summer, because since it's really hot, I can't go there. It was Izaka Onsen, and I don't know how many times did we go there, like a lot during autumn and winter. I think that would be my favorite part of Fukushima. And yes, we talked about this with you earlier, Emre, that you have to be careful with the train line that goes to Izaka, because it goes from a different platform. It's not a JR line, and you have to buy the tickets like at a separate booth. Yeah, so that would be the trick with that. But other than that, it's a beautiful, perfect spot to have an onsen day.
yeah, it's true. I mean, in Fukushima, there's nothing really you have to watch out for, I think. I mean, it's perfectly safe. Everyone, even if you don't know Japanese, with hands and feet, you will communicate somehow. And I mean, we live in a technological age of Google Translate and DeepL and so on, ChatGPT. So I think there won't be any problems. There won't be any language barrier problems in this case. Yes, maybe one. There was a question which is I would think is important in this case because it goes back to the problem of radiation. It was was there any mutated plant life or wildlife in Fukushima, and like what happened to the wildlife and plant life in Fukushima after the disaster? Do you want to share something about that? Other than you?
How about you share something about it?
Yeah, well, we had the chance to participate in classes talking about this topic. We also went to the power plant itself, to the place where everything happened. Everything went down on March 11, and we learned that there was no directly like mutation in wildlife and plant life. What happened was that a lot of fish, especially, and also mushrooms in the woods, for example, took in those radioactive materials into their bodies, into their flesh, into their meat. Thus, they were deemed unconsumable. But with strict tests and regulations and recovery efforts, now everything is safe again. There were no species or something which got wiped out because of this accident. Something maybe we can add is like, for example, the salmon migration here in Fukushima, because we had a big salmon migration which was sadly lost due to damage through the earthquake, where salmon couldn't come here to reproduce. But this is recovered, and now the first salmons after 12, 13 years are coming back, and Yeah, I mean, Mother Nature has a way of recovering, even with our meddling. Mother Nature always wins. So, yeah,
That's very well said.
right.
Mm.
So, we're doing more. Okay, last question. Last question. We can. Yeah, this is a good question, especially for, and maybe also for everything. Like, can you imagine living in Fukushima longer, or in future coming back here and living here? Like, maybe from Chihiro also. Do you want to move away from Fukushima, or do you want to stay in Fukushima and live here?
Actually, I want to live other prefecture because I have never lived this prefecture, and I want to explain. I want to have an experience in the in living the urban city, not
Ah,
yes,
urban.
yes, urban city.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
yes.
okay. I mean, you were born and raised in Fukushima, so I
Yes.
can imagine that you
Yes,
maybe
this
want
is
to.
a really
Okay.
valid point because Fukushima city is not a big city, and it's surrounded by like small villages. So for someone who lived their whole like younger life here, then I can imagine like moving away to maybe a bigger city. But for example, like as a foreigner who like I lived here for almost a year now, and I know that like since the beginning we talked about this with the others, like doing our master's degree maybe at Fukushima University or coming back at some point, maybe not Fukushima, but close to Fukushima. At least this is I know that this is my opinion that if I'd ever move to Japan, I would move close to Fukushima. That's 100%. I'm 100% sure of that.
How about you,
How
Angelina?
about me? Um, I'm I'm basically the same opinion as Kitty because before coming to Fukushima, I was my plan was to graduate and start working. But now I really have I was thinking a lot about it, doing like my master's degree here or just work and travel somewhere in Fukushima prefecture, not Fukushima city itself, but prefecture because as Fukushima has a lot of other bigger cities that you can do a lot of stuff, and also like surrounding prefectures are also it. But I want to say it doesn't necessarily has to be like Tokyo or Kyoto or Osaka, which are like major cities, but not really the city. No need to go there. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Fukushima Prefecture, as we heard earlier, is the third largest prefecture in Japan. And I mean, even though Fukushima City, with the same name of Fukushima Prefecture, is the capital of this prefecture, we have cities like Koriyama, for example, or here, region Aizu Wakamatsu, which are more like urban compared to Fukushima City. And for example, Koriyama is the economical capital of Fukushima Prefecture. When I went there last time or the first time, it was like I felt like I'm back in Germany basically, because it's a big city. It's really modern. It's not as much as Japanese, traditional Japanese as you would think, but you have so much here in Fukushima. You can come here if you want to live quiet farm life. You can come here if you want to live in a smaller city. You can come here if you want to live in a historical city. Like, there's everything for everyone here. And yeah, I mean, it's not far from Tokyo. Like 2.5 hours. That's nothing, right? Um, especially with the Shinkansen, and yes, yes. So yeah, at least we will think about it in the future. First, we have to graduate. This is the biggest problem, graduating. But well, who knows? Maybe Fukushima University will see our faces again in the master degree program, right? So They will be so, oh my god, those guys again. And then maybe we will do a stream number 2 or something. Yeah, 5 years later, what happened will change. Anyway, I think it's time to conclude everything. Maybe if I may have our teacher also in the camera, so or everyone who wants to be in the camera to show everyone who worked on this project. We had 2 students also behind the camera, who I like to mention, Tom and Jonas, who helped a lot backstage with all the technological problems we suffered. The setting up and everything, the camera, the computer, the OBS. Thank you very much, Jonas and Tom, for this. Thank you for Mr. Jost for organizing this class, also giving us the opportunity to express ourselves creatively and without any restrictions. And thank you for our Japanese students who helped us understand Fukushima in a more native way and viewpoint, and help us in, especially with the Japanese questionnaire, because we're not Nihongo Jose as much as we want. Yes. And also, of course, thank you to all the international students here, Kitty, Angelina, me included, who thank you myself. Who, yeah, I mean, we did a good job, I think. So this video will be uploaded also on YouTube. So if you want to watch it every Christmas or something with the family, no problem, do it. Yeah, and we'll see you in the future. Please stay tuned for future coming media and uploads something from this channel, because this class wasn't the last class. Next semester it will go all over, start all over again with a new project. So if you want to learn about Fukushima, please stay tuned, and thank you very much. Thank you. See you.